Okay, so I am recording now.
Okay, fabulous. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday morning, and we are just about 4 weeks out from conference. We are all really looking forward to getting to see you at conference, and we're happy to be seeing you this morning. For those of you who may not recognize my face, I'm Meg Winnicates, Director of Engagement for NEMA. We've got the entire NEMA team on here today, which is great because if you have any super technical questions, it's going to be Scarlett and Heather who knows the answers to them. So the plan for this morning is to go through the basics of how the NEMA conference is going to look on a virtual platform and what you as speakers and session facilitators need to know. Hopefully we will cover all of your questions. If not, we left ourselves plenty of time for you to ask those questions. And if we do not know the answers, we will find out and get back to you, like any good interpreter or educator will do. So here we go. We've got our tips for conference speakers. So there we go. First step, most of you who are on here today have already done this, and thank you very much, but it is absolutely vital this year that you register for conference in advance. There is no such thing as like a walk-in registration. There's setup we need to be doing on the back end, so please encourage the other speakers on your panel to make sure that they all register in advance. You are not going to be able to get into your session to present if you have not registered for conference. There are a lot of options for registering. As you all know, we have speaker registration as usual. If you have any speakers from outside the field or who have some serious time commitment restraints where they are not going to be able to attend the rest of conference, they can register for free by picking session only. The way to register session only, you do in fact have to pick the speaker registration on one screen and then hit next, and then it will give you the option to do session only. So if you've got any folks who are confused about that or can't find it, just tell them they have to keep hitting that next button and they will get there. For folks who have the funds and want to support NEMA, there is the option to register at the member rate for the whole conference. We do have a few of you who have done that, and thank you very much. We really appreciate it. There is the option for doing the one-day rate. So if you have basically set aside the day that you're speaking at conference to be able to also attend conference, you can just select one day. Hardship registration is available for everybody. Anybody who needs it, please feel free to go ahead and do that. We also have a number of scholarship and fellowships to help support your attendance at conference. So all of that information is online. The scholarship process is completely integrated with registering for conference this year. So start registering for conference, man. I have had no tea yet this morning and I apologize. So when you register for conference, you can get at it two different ways. This is the same app that we've been using for conference for the last several years. So for any of you who have used the conference app, you may still have it on your phone. If so, awesome. And it will look very familiar to you. The interface on the app is basically the same. It just does a lot of extra stuff this year because Hoover's built it out to be an entire virtual conference platform in addition to the kind of networking and whatnot that we were able to do on it before. The other way is to reach it through a web browser. Whova says they work best on Chrome, and we have found that. So if you tend to use Safari or Firefox, we do recommend you try Chrome, especially if you're finding anything buggy. So that is one of our major tech support suggestions for you in advance. If you don't use Chrome, we recommend you try downloading it, play around with it a little bit. Whova is, that's their preferred browser. Both the app and the web browser will give you access to your speaker hub. So you have been coded in Whova to say this person is a speaker, so you will have access to some extra tools. For instance, you will not need to go hunting through the app to go find your session. It will come up directly linked to your profile under My Sessions. It gives you the option to directly look at any questions people are asking you. And it also gives you the opportunity to do promoting your session either through the Hoover networking tools or doing, if you've linked to your Twitter account or things like that, it will do that for you as well, and include the conference hashtag and things like that. We do really encourage you between now and conference to talk up your sessions. Our hashtag for the conference is hashtag NEMA 2020, and we would love to get to hear people talking about the things you're excited to get to share with folks, the sessions you're interested in attending as well, etc. So we would love for you to go ahead and start promoting your session ahead of time. One of the other fun things you'll be able to see as people register for conference and start looking through the agenda is that people can do the add to my agenda, and you will be able to see how many people are interested in your session if they're taking advantage of that tool, which they very well may not. So if you don't have a lot of people signed up, do not get discouraged because a lot of people don't bother to do the add to my agenda. They just figure they will pop in to whatever the things that they're interested in. And some people don't do it until the day before conference. So if you need the QR code for accessing the app directly, please feel free to go ahead and screenshot this, etc. Heather is also recording, and we will be posting this on our YouTube channel, etc., and sending the link out to everybody. So if there are, again, speakers on your panel who couldn't make it today, etc., you can feel free to share this with them. And we will also be running this again in a couple of weeks. I think it's November 2nd, right, Heather? Okay, all right. I should know, I picked it, but see the aforementioned Monday morning no tea. All right. Once you are signed up for a conference and have access to the conference platform, accessing your session is going to be reasonably easy. We do recommend strongly that you start by reading the speaker guide provided by Whova. It answers a number of questions that you might have regarding kind of how things look from the speaker point of view. So that will cover a lot of your questions. Specifically related to NEMA, we will send you a unique speaker link to participate in your session using Zoom. So the way this works is that Whova is essentially a broadcasting platform. So Zoom is providing the actual video conferencing, and then people who are attending your session are actually seeing it as if it's essentially a live stream or a broadcast through Whova. So they will not be there will not be a waiting room you need to worry about. They will not be in the room with you, unless you are setting things up for breakout sessions, which we will get back to later. So plan on signing in about 10 minutes early to do any setup you need to do, figure out screen sharing, etc., do any problem shooting you might need to do. One of us will be in the room with you to welcome you. So every session has at least a 15-minute break for it. So you will have 10 minutes in there before anyone else can see what's happening to get all set up, and either a NEMA staff member or a designated conference ambassador who has got all the same briefing and information that we four have will be there to say, hey, how are you doing? Are you ready? Etc., and help you set things up. The role of the conference ambassador or NEMA staffer, whichever of us happen to be in your session, is to make sure you can get in and do any troubleshooting before the session starts. A number of your sessions this year are being sponsored. So the options for sponsors this year included the chance to sponsor a single or a track of sessions. So they will have a 30-second to a minute-long video that the conference ambassador will be in charge of playing before your session starts. As soon as that video is over, it will be up to you guys to get rolling and to keep time within your own panel of speakers. So again, please make sure that you are aware of your own time and courteous to your fellow speakers, etc., the same way we are at any normal conference. However, the conference ambassador will be around to give you a 5-minute warning at the end of the session, since again, we have about a 15-minute break between sessions and we will need time for the next round of presenters to be able to get ready on their next Zoom channel. So the conference ambassador will give you an end of session 5-minute warning. In terms of sharing your screen for being able to do presenting like we're doing right now, we highly recommend that each speaker be prepared to share their own slides, just so that you don't have to do the like, next slide, please, which gets very, very repetitive for the people listening to you, and can also lead to some frustration between folks, especially if there's any kind of bandwidth issue with tech lags, etc. That being said, bandwidth issues and tech lags do happen, and should anything on your end as a speaker crash, we also highly recommend that you have pre-shared your slides with the other folks on your panel so that someone else can step up and share their screen while you are getting stuff sorted out again. So everybody having backups is definitely worthwhile. We also recommend practicing screen sharing. I already had to try 3 different things this morning because I did not know that Google Slides would only show me like the edit section, because if I tried to do presenter section, it just wiped out my entire screen and I couldn't get back to Zoom. So practice, figure out what's going to work best for you, etc. We also recommend shutting any background programs that you're not using. You know, have Hoover open, have Zoom open, have whatever presentation program you're using open, and nothing else. Because anything that's going to slow your computer down is going to make it easier for hiccups to happen. Plan for transition times between your presenters, because it does take a minute sometimes for people to figure out the screen sharing, etc. If you are planning on doing any kind of video playback in your presentation, where you're going to be showing folks clips of anything from marketing materials, evaluation videos, whatever else, make sure when you're doing your screen sharing, you also choose to share computer sound. This is especially pertinent if you're wearing a headset, because if you're getting your sound through the headphones, no microphone is going to pick up sound coming from just your computer speakers. So the sound quality is best if you do share computer sound in addition to sharing your screen. And that is, again, worth practicing. Any platform does work: PowerPoint, Prezi, Keynote, Slides. Anything that works on your computer will work for sharing because it's hosted on your computer. But as I discovered, some things are going to be easier from the presenter end than others. So figure out what works best for you. What if everything crashes? Don't panic. It's all going to be okay. Everybody understands this many months into virtual learning that hiccups happen. Do go ahead and troubleshoot. Everyone will understand. If you have to go to a backup like phoning in to do the rest of your presentation while things are restarting, etc., that is fine. That's the ideal place to do ask your co-presenters to use their copy of your slides. And then the absolute backup option, which we really only recommend for folks if you are in, say, Western Massachusetts or certain areas of Maine or Vermont, areas where high-speed internet can be a little dodgy and you know you have recurring bandwidth issues. If you are more comfortable pre-recording your session and sending it to us so that you can plan to just have us play the video at the time that your session is scheduled and you can be logged in so that you can participate live in the chat, we are totally okay with that. So we recommend that for folks who know they have recurring tech issues. Everybody else, we would like to request that you do things live because the interaction is so much better. But we do have that as an option. So you can use a file transfer program and send us a backup, and I will go over pre-recording your session a little bit further on. I'm going to pause here and see if anybody has any questions so far, because I realize I went through the first several slides fairly fast. So is there anything so far people have questions or issues with?
I have a question.
Shoot.
Since it's broadcast through Hoover, that means that the Zoom functionality of other people, speaking on Zoom or breakout rooms or things like that, excuse me, I'm assuming that will not work because of the Hoover intermediary. Is that right?
Right. So I will definitely explain the breakout room situation coming up soon. I've got a slide all about that. If you want to be able to do breakout rooms, we can make that happen. There are a couple of different ways. It will boot you from the Whova interface, however, at least as of right now. And Whova has been updating their interface with Zoom every time Zoom does an update. Whova is continually building new features. So we don't even know if this is still going to be a problem by a month from now. But as of right now, what happens is that the Zoom kind of interface with Whova does not support doing breakout rooms within Whova. Zoom has not basically built that functionality to be able to do like a third-party breakout room situation. So if you want to do a breakout room, we can do that. We just have to set it up on the back end so that people are booted from Whova and have to open your session in their Zoom app instead. In which case it will be a situation more like this where everybody can talk in your breakout rooms, etc. Otherwise, it would be more like doing a webinar where all of the interaction is happening through the built-in chat. And I will get to what that all looks like in the next couple of slides as well. So if you're okay with having interactions with people on chat and don't need the breakout room functionality, it is a lot easier to keep everybody on the Whova platform. However, if doing breakout rooms and whatnot is a major part of how you're planning your session, we can absolutely do that. We just need to let everybody know that that's going to change their conference experience a little bit because they'll have to kind of leave Whova and come back again.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Anybody else have a question thus far?
Meg, there's something in the chat feature if you want to read that, if you could get to it.
Okay. Okay. Yes, accessing the conference through Whova on a desktop. Yes, you will get that link in your registration confirmation information for accessing conference through Whova on a desktop.
Tracy, have you logged into the NEMA site for our conference? Because hopefully it's not the sell side that you're logging into for the NEMA stuff.
No, yeah, I have not. I haven't logged in through NEMA. So if there's a specific way to log into Whova through NEMA, that would be awesome. Because for this other conference I attended, I just went directly to like Whova.com, and unfortunately, like it's all set up for like, you know, use Whova for your conference. So if you're attending the conference, it's really hard to find where the conference is.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll try going through the NEMA site.
Well, did you receive an email from us through our registration process saying that you've been uploaded to Whova and this is how you access it?
I did not.
Okay. I will, after this ends, I'll make sure that you do get that one. So it gives you a direct link of how to actually access the site. So if any of you guys have not registered and received that, once you register, you'll receive that link. Scarlett just put it in the chat feature as well. But definitely it's something that we'll be sending out once you register as well.
Yeah, and it'll only link once you registered with that email to that portal.
Yeah, so make sure you use the same email that you registered with. That's in the confirmation email as well. When I send you that you've been uploaded to Whova, that's kind of the key thing too, is because it won't recognize another email address. Just because it is the online platform, we have to be pretty strict about the email address part of it.
Speaking of which, if any of you have changed jobs or likely have a different email address now than you were using, say, at last year's conference or whenever you last logged into the conference app, if you are logging in with a brand new email, you'll have to reset up your profile, etc. We can help you with the duplicate stuff, but you would need to email us if you're like, I can't log back into Whova, or it's not letting me get to this year's conference. If you're still logged in with like last year's email identification, etc., email Heather and Scarlett and they will help you out with that. All right, other things to do with setting up your session is all the fun extras. So the Q&A and the chat features look like this on the sidebar column of the screen for your session. So we've got a sample screenshot here. So the video for when the keynote starts streaming is going to appear in between like add to my agenda and speakers. So the video will pop up there. And then on the sidebar are the Q&A and the chat. So you just click between the different tabs. And so that's all integrated into Whova. The chat feature in Zoom will be disabled, so people who are interacting will have to do it through Whova, so that you don't end up having multiple different strains of chat going that you have to try to tab back and forth through. If you are interested in doing any handouts and resources, that is the same process that it has always been. That link is live on the NEMA website. You can go ahead and upload your handouts whenever it is that you want to. That will be, and that will also be accessible through the app under the resources tab.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
If as a session moderator, do you see the Q&A and chat sections differently than everybody else, all the participants?
You can access those through your speaker hub on the desktop or the app. One of the things that we are recommending is that you have, and that's a really good question, Wendy, thank you very much. We are recommending that since when you're presenting in Zoom, it will be a little difficult to be seeing the desktop version of your app at the same time, unless you are one of those very lucky people who has like a multiple monitor setup, like my brother, who I think legit has 3 different computer screens. I don't know how he does it, but we recommend that you have the conference app open on a tablet or a smartphone if you have that as an option, to be able to keep an eye on the Q&A and the chat feature, so that you can be focusing on your presentation on the screen. The other thing we recommend is that you not actually try, if you're not a solo presenter, assuming that there are other folks on your panel with you, we recommend that you appoint essentially a question wrangler, so that one of the other presenters is in charge of keeping an eye on the chat and the questions coming in while you are talking, so you can focus on talking, and they can do what Heather often does for us during lunch with NEMA, et cetera, keep an eye on the chat and interject at useful moments like, hey, there's a comment here, can you address this? If you do not have a co-speaker who can help do this for you, that will be the role of the conference ambassador. They can be question wrangler for you if you don't have someone who can do that on your panel.
And Meg, can I just chime in real quick? So the speaker hub will kind of appear on your phone like this, and there's a questions from my audience section. So you'd tap that section, and then you tap your session, and then so far no questions are up, but you can, you know, ask a question or view as a moderator. So it's really easy to access on your phone while presenting.
And yes, those will only be coming through Whova because we are going to have the chat and Q&A options in Zoom disabled. So that will keep things from having to moderate like 4 things. You only have to worry about 2, which are the chat and the Q&A directly through the Whova platform itself. Accessibility options. We have been working with a company that does live closed captioning as necessary. So if you know you have a panelist who needs some accessibility assistance, please let us know as soon as possible so we can get that arranged. If there are any other kinds of accessibility issues that you have that we can try to help you with, please let us know as soon as possible. The other thing we need to know in advance is if you're planning on doing breakout sessions. That is not a thing that you can change your mind about the day before conference or the morning of, because of the setup we need to do on the back end. So if you want to do breakout sessions, we need to know that as soon as possible. November 6th is the absolute latest, because at that point, Heather's going to be loading all of the links into the Hoover platform, and it will be too late to change things. So if you want to do classic Zoom style breakout sessions where you are picking the number of breakout rooms you want to be able to do and then randomly assigning whoever's in your session to those rooms, that would be your classic breakout session option. We need to know that because that has to do with how we set up your meeting on the back end for the Zoom Hoover connection. The other option if you want people to be able to say, pick a particular topic for a breakout session or be able to move from one breakout session to another, is not to use the Zoom breakout session feature at all. And that would be instead to use an option that's provided through Whova, which is provided through their networking possibilities. And so that would be to set up meetups and to set them up as roundtables for your session. And that allows people to pop in and out. And you can set those up in advance and schedule them to be happening during your session, and then basically drop the links for those into the chat for your session, and people will be able to pop in and out, and you can give them, say, a time limit and say, all right, my session runs 10:45 to 12:30. You need to be here back, you know, you have from 11:30 to noon to be in any of these roundtable meetup sections, and then you need to be back in this session at noon. So from noon to 12:30, we can, you know, have a wrap up and a reporting from each of the session facilitators that were running those meetups. So that is very easy to set up through the app. You can do it in advance. You can test it out with your panelists so that you can, you know, make a practice thing and then delete it if you need to. So that's what we're recommending if you want people to be able to pick where they're going. So for instance, the session on Friday morning that's all about, yes, thank you, Hoover has a lot of really great guides. So you can look up all of their various how-to things on their website, and they will show you how to set up pretty much anything that you would need to be able to use. So say the Friday morning session that's sort of like, here's all the educational resources on all of these fabulous topics. They're going to be setting things up with the roundtable meetup option instead of the breakout room option, so that people can go back and forth and choose which things they want to find out more about. The other extra that we're recommending is that if you feel interested in and comfortable doing a land acknowledgement at the beginning of your session, we welcome and encourage you to do that. We have some recommended language courtesy of, get back to that, courtesy of the Mass Cultural Council. So this is their example, which is very easy to adapt for whatever state you happen to be in. So we are recommending that you do that if that's a thing that you are interested and comfortable in. Going back to the virtual meetup, these are the steps courtesy of Scarlett, who's written it all out. So you can set things up on either the app or the desktop. Under the community tab, which is their code for it, this is the networking area. The two little speech bubbles are the key for that. Set up meetups and virtual meets and fill in title and event description. You can set the date and time, the duration, etc. If you want to use your own Zoom account so that you're not limited to number of people, you are welcome to do that. If you want to just use Whova's built-in meeting function, which we recommend, it's got a max capacity of 30 people, but for a breakout session, I don't think you probably want more people than that anyway. So that's our recommendation, just to make your life easier, is to use Whova's built-in meeting function. So there we go. Last tips for a virtual presentation. We recommend keeping slides simple, even more simple than the ones I've been doing here. As little text as possible is, of course, recommended, both for accessibility and memorability. Speak much more slowly than I've been managing to do, because I rattle on like a runaway train, and I apologize for that. Pause and invite interaction. Check as you're going if people have questions, or invite them to answer your questions in the chat, etc. You can do sort of not exactly tallyable polls, but you can get a read on the virtual room that way. As I mentioned before, appoint a question wrangler for each presenter. So make sure that everybody knows, like, you're in charge of watching the chat while this person is talking. And if there are any links that you want to be able to share with people during your session, have a list of those pre-collected so that you have them ready to just copy and paste right into the chat. Because there is just not time while you're actually talking to be like, oh yeah, I meant to go get that thing, pardon me while I go browse, and that you don't want to have to do that. Just have them all at your fingertips. And if you want, again, possibly even have that in a shared Google Doc among your panelists so that somebody else can be dropping those links into the chat for you as you are talking. Back to question. Will these slides be emailed to us after today's meeting? Yes, we will happily send the slides along. We are recording today. We will be doing this again November 2nd, and we will email you a link to the recording as well so that you can share that with any of your co-speakers who were not able to attend today. So, pre-recording your session. Let us know in advance that you're planning to pre-record so that we are not setting up a meeting for you. We can instead set up the video link. When you're doing your pre-recording, use your own video conferencing platform or account. If you don't have one or nobody on your session has one and you need to borrow NEMA's, be in touch with me as soon as possible and we will schedule a time that works for you and your presenters and the NEMA calendar to be able to borrow our account. Record your session with all of your presenters and edit it as need be. Then you can send it to conference@nemanet.org via Dropbox or any other kind of file transfer program. Make sure you get that to us by November 6th. That's, again, same deadline as needing to know about accessibility and breakout rooms and things like that, because at that point, we will be doing all of the uploading in the background, and it will be a lot more complicated after that. Last thing is a reminder that we do have the NEMA Code of Conduct that applies to all events, virtual or otherwise. Just if you haven't had a chance to reread it recently, be aware that it exists, go check it out. And we have heard grumblings, sometimes even months down the line, like, oh, there was this really awful person who said this like really offensive thing, but no one ever reported it to us at the time. And so we were not able to take any kind of action to make things better because we didn't know it was happening. So you as session facilitators, we really need you to let us know if something is happening in your session. If for any reason we're not the staffers right there, you know, witnessing it ourselves, etc., please let us know if anything is happening. And so all of the kind of how to let us know is in the Code of Conduct, or, you know, just email one of us if need be. So
I'll make a quick question about that. If
yes,
we have, we'll have a NEMA ambassador or someone with us.
mm-hmm.
If there is a code of conduct issue as the moderator, do I act first or do I wait for her? Does sequencing doesn't matter, whichever of us sees it first?
I would say probably whichever of you sees it first. If you are kind of on the fence about whether something is really truly a problem, you can kind of reach out to whoever is the person in the room with you, using like the Zoom. Actually, no, you can't use the chat feature because we will have disabled it. But we will make sure that you have like the text number to reach whoever it is that's in the room with you, so you can send them like a little private message.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. The other thing you can do is use Whova's messaging system to reach any of the NEMA staff at any point. Heather, Scarlett, and I are monitoring that all the time. So you can use the Whova messaging system to ping us and be like, we're having a problem. Can you, eject somebody, or, drop a not so gentle reminder in the chat for people to behave themselves, etc.
Okay.
All right. And Betsy wants to know if we can mute or shut someone off in Hoover ourselves. Heather and Scarlett, I think that's a question for you.
In the Q&A portion, you can like mute questions if somebody asks an inappropriate question so it doesn't appear. I don't yet know if there's a way to block something like that in the chat. We're still kind of navigating that. Heather, do you have anything to add?
No, because they're not actually signing into a Hoover meeting, a Zoom meeting, so you're not seeing the participant list to block them. Hopefully we're all being professionals during this, and we won't need to do this. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we are all polite to each other and this isn't needed. But if something happens, then we could have to go in the back end probably and just kick them out that way. But, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't go that far.
And the only time,
oh, sorry, Scarlett, go
no,
ahead.
that's okay. One of the few times that you will be kind of seeing face-to-face would be those virtual meetups or during like a PAG lunch, because otherwise, like Heather said, it'll be kind of going through the platform, so you won't see anybody but your speakers. But in those PAG lunches and virtual meetups, those would be like face-to-face.
Yeah, the good news is that the way Whova is set up, all of the Zoom links are hidden. So you can only get any kind of access to the conference at all through the conference platform or through the unique speaker links we will be sending you for your specific sessions. So there will be no issues with Zoom bombers or anything like that. No random people will be wandering in and yelling, ranting strange things. So we did have one other questions about whether the sessions will be recorded. The automatic assumption is that we will be recording your session as it's happening unless you specifically request not to for like confidentiality reasons. So there are a couple of sessions, there's an HR related session, et cetera, where for the comfort of the attendees, we are probably not going to be recording that one. But most of them will be recorded and they will be available to participants for up to 3 months after conference. If you have accessibility questions, email me before November 6th. If you're presenting solo, would we recommend people pre-recording their session and logging on at the session time to field questions through Whova? If you are more comfortable doing that, yes, that is fine. If you are more comfortable being able to pre-record your session, that is what the keynoters are going to be doing. So they will be live to interact with folks while the keynote is happening, but they will be pre-recording. So if you are a solo presenter and would prefer to do that, then sure. And again, pre-record it, file transfer it to conference@nemanet.org.
I have a question about the breakout session.
Yes.
So I'm presenting with Lily, who was asking earlier, and we were planning to do being able to use the Zoom breakout session feature, and we were wondering like who the host of the meeting is, because it seems like only the host can like facilitate actually making those breakout rooms. So is that going to be us, or is it going to be the NEMA person in our room?
Okay, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the plan is when you as a speaker sign in, we will make you a co-host, so you should have control over the breakout rooms.
Yep, that's the plan. So basically all the speakers are co-hosts. That's what we do with our normal town halls and stuff, is that everybody that is speaking has that capability to do that. So that shouldn't be a problem. Just as long as we know in advance that that's going to happen, we can make sure that someone there is more comfortable with doing the breakout rooms and stuff like that. So definitely let us know that you're doing the breakout so we can flag that session.
Okay, thanks. And we were also wondering, because we didn't realize that there was this Whova sort of broadcast situation, if there were going to be like ground rules around when there are sessions like this where everybody's logged in and able to see each other, about like what you put as your name, or how to use the chat and how to raise your hand and stuff like that. Like, is that something that we should be going over as presenters at the beginning of our session, or is there going to be like an overall, like when you're participating in this conference, ground rules kind of stuff?
That is a good question. We've been talking about that ourselves. We might need to come up with some kind of just an FAQ about the ins and outs of it. I think if it happened at the beginning of every session, everybody get tired by Thursday, basically. So we're trying to avoid that one. But I think we might just need to come up with something just so it's there so everybody can see the ground rules and stuff like that are available.
Yeah,
hopefully everybody's familiar with it, but
recommended virtual conference etiquette is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Hey everybody, I have some questions on some of the content that you've already covered, Meg. Is now a good time to take some more questions?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I don't have any more content to cover, so however much longer this goes is up to you guys and how many questions you have. So, shoot.
Great, thank you. I just want to clarify in terms of the attendees experience on a regular session, so not a breakout session.
Mhm.
Will the presenters be able to see and hear the attendees? No. Okay. And attendees can interact with presenters through the chat feature and the Q&A. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the meetups, if we did do a breakout meetups, can the attendees see and hear each other there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's built as a networking tool. So that acts more like a meeting like this where you see everybody's heads on a screen or whatever.
Got it. Okay. And then a sort of follow-up question, my session team had planned to originally we were going to do roundtable discussions in a room together. So now I think we're obviously going to be reconsidering that and figure out kind of which path. If you were going to do it, which path would you take? Would you take the meetups that are built into the Whova platform, or would you go the Zoom breakout route?
I think the major difference is really whether you want people to be able to choose where they're going or whether you want to randomly be able to break people up and get them to talk to people or about topics that they may not have chosen for themselves. So if you are interested in going the random route, then I would go with the Zoom breakouts. And if you want people to be able to choose the things they're most interested in or give them the option to move between topics like an unconference, then I would go with the Hoover meeting room option.
Okay, great. Awesome. Excellent. I think that's everything I wanted to know. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Okay, will we know ahead of time how many participants are registered for our session? And if so, when will we know that? Well, that depends on how good people are about clicking add this to my agenda. So some people use that tool and some people don't. Some people will just sort of say, what do I feel like watching right now? I guess I'll go try that. And you will not know. And then some people like to plan things out in advance and they will set up their whole agenda so that they don't have to go back and find the things they're interested in. It will just all be on their profile for them. So you'll know how many really organized folks are interested in your session, and you won't know how many disorganized folks are interested in your session. Sorry about that.
Meg, as a related subject, do you want to talk about how you can promote your session though this way? This is a good way of just sort of, building, hey, I'm presenting and, whatever, and you do that through either social media or through the platform itself. And it just helps, people drive attendance, and people naturally, your circle of acquaintances may or may not want to hear from you and that type of thing. So anyway, this offers you that option through the community function. Is that right?
That's right. So under your speaker hub, there's the tab for promote my session, and that will help auto populate any tweets you want to do if you've connected it to your Twitter account with the hashtag for the conference, which is NEMA 2020, or obviously just go straight through your own social media account if you're doing stuff far enough in advance, like say this afternoon, hey, I'm really excited for conference. Here's what I'm going to be talking about, and I'm co-presenting with these folks, and tag them and get them to retweet it, etc. The more energy we can generate in front of conference, I think the more excited everybody will be when we actually get there. So you can do that on your existing social media. You can also do that within the conference platform. So those of you who have used the app in previous years probably remember there's an ice-breaking function, there's the kind of start a message function, and there are essentially what those of us who are kind of internet old timers like to call forums, where you get the kind of threads about like, come talk to me about this topic, etc. I'm planning a session on X. If you're interested in it, let me know what kinds of things you want to hear to do with this topic, that kind of thing. So you can do all of that on the app in advance. Particularly, I would say in like the 2 weeks directly before conference is when people start actually paying attention, other than the 4 of us. So you can definitely do both buzz within the Whova app and with your larger circle on social media.
Definitely, Whova keeps adding stuff as every time we log in, we're like, oh, that's new. So definitely take a look at the conference platform, click around, play with stuff. It's a lot easier. It sounds a little scary as we talk about it, but as soon as you start clicking things, it becomes very apparent. It's pretty easy. So definitely go into the conference platform and just kind of click around to get familiar with it. It's definitely, if you have had it on your phone before, the app is pretty similar to the platform on the computer as well. So there's the same functions and stuff like that, but definitely just have fun, click around, play with it.
We did pick Whova on purpose for how easy it is to use, both because it would be familiar to the most number of folks and because they've done a really good job of kind of building from what's familiar. So we think it's reasonably intuitive. We hope you agree. We looked at, I don't even remember how many platforms at this point, at least 6, maybe more. And this was the one that we felt like delivered most of what we were hoping for. So we really, really hope that you agree. If you have any issues, please feel free to reach out to any of us and we will try to figure it out. So,
Scarlett, did you want to talk about the sponsors a little bit more?
oh, it looked like Wendy had a question first.
Yeah, I have one of those just to make sure I'm following this. So what we should do is have Hoover's on the phone. So that's how, as a moderator, we would check our chats and the questions. And I just looked that up. That's really easy. But for participating in the sessions, we should go to Chrome and download Whova through the NEMA website. Is that?
We recommend using Chrome as the desktop browser. You don't actually have to download anything. It's just a web link to go to.
Or just so, okay.
So yeah, so you don't have to download anything if you've already got Zoom on your desktop. We do recommend presenting through your desktop unless you have connection issues and your phone is more stable. But
it's too small.
But wait, Wendy just asked whether she can download it through the NEMA website, and that's not true, right? Because she needs a discrete link for having registered to get to the Hoover platform. It's not publicly available on the website, correct?
There's a link on the website.
Yeah.
You should be able to access it as long as your email lines up with the email that we've already pre-approved.
Okay.
If it's
So you
not
have to be
pre-approved,
registered.
it goes into a queue basically, and one of us has to approve it. So there is a link on the website.
If you go there without logging in with the email that you used to register, you won't be able to get anywhere.
Okay.
Wendy, did you receive the email that I sent last week about the app? I could send it again. I will be sending this multiple times.
If you would
but...
send again, because that would be clearer. Thank you.
Okay. Scarlett, you want to fill folks in on how like sponsors and exhibitors are working this year?
Yeah, of course. So we have a virtual exhibit hall and a virtual area for sponsors as well. If you have a session that's sponsored, it will be listed in our final program book. You've probably seen our preliminary program book online. And sessions will be saying, you know, sponsored by Brad Larson or sponsored by Collector Systems. So those folks will be sending us an ad, which whoever will be sitting in on your session will be able to play. It'll be included in the recording. And this is how we get awesome support and love and celebration for all things NEMA. So thank you all for your help and cooperation and patience with these ads. Otherwise, the exhibit hall is similar to the physical exhibit hall, where you can kind of poke around and see all the different offerings and companies. But does anybody have any questions for me about sponsors or exhibitors? Cool. Well, go hang out and say hi to them in the exhibit hall because they're awesome supporters of NEMA.
Yeah, the folks who chose to do a virtual exhibit booth are the ones who are really dedicated to the NEMA community. Yeah. So we want to go give them some kudos when conference actually happens because, you know, compared to an in-person exhibit booth, this is not exciting for them.
You know, it's a good segue too, because I really did want to mention to y'all that, you know, acknowledging this is a brave new world and you're being very brave with us. And those of you who have decided to present at this conference, you know, I and we all are very, very grateful for this because, you know, this is really kind of a new and different thing. It's not like just walking into the hotel, you know, conference room and here we are, you know, and so we're trying to process this sort of cognitive dissonance of how do we actually get into these spaces and do this thing right. So we all have a little butterflies and whatever, whether this is going to come off the way we think it's going to come off. But anyway, I just want to acknowledge you know, our appreciation for y'all. And I also want to acknowledge, you know, Heather, Meg, and Scarlett for doing this as well. You know, they've really shown a heck of a lot of you know, creativity, insights, and you know, whatever. So they need a lot of support and congratulations too. So thanks to you all, the NEMA team. Anyway, I'm very, very glad that we're all pulling this together. So before we all flew the coop, I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
All right, and Wendy has a question about land acknowledgements, and is there a resource we can recommend in terms of finding out sort of which tribal lands you might be on? We will definitely look that up, and we will put that somewhere on the NEMA website and email it out to you as well. I don't
Scarlett just chatted it,
but
too.
hey, Scarlett is amazing. So,
Scarlett Keviner is back up.
There you go.
That's actually a really good site too, as well. We've used it as a resource for museums now. And I just want to back up. If you guys have any questions at all, if you're a little hesitant, you need someone to help you, just simple questions, any question at all, just let us know. We want to make sure that you're comfortable going into your session because it's all kind of new territory. I mean, Zoom's not new territory anymore. That's old hat, but you know, it's another platform. So yeah, definitely if you have any questions, we're free to answer them. I would suggest emailing us, not calling the office though. It would be a little faster. We're all at home. So
yeah, so email any one of us, one or more of us will get back to you. We are here to help. We are, as Dan said, deeply grateful that you were willing to take the plunge into virtual conference land with us, and we could not pull off conference without you. We say that every year, and this year it is more true than usual. So thank you very, very much. All right, anybody else have any other questions? All right, well, it is lovely to see so many of your faces, and we miss you all, and we are really looking forward to hopefully having a vaccine and seeing you in person a year from now. But in the interim, we will really look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Last reminders, get your co-speakers to register for conference. Remind them we are going to be doing this again if people have more questions on November 2nd. Otherwise, they're welcome to watch this video. And thank you all very, very much.
thanks.